Getting on to the window detail now. We need to chop an opening out of the timber frame panel. So we've got the basic outline of the timber frame panel here, again 200mm thick. The main thing you'll notice when you look at the timber frame panel is above either an opening for a door or a window, you have a section of solid timber, and it's the full width of the panel. To draw that in is very straightforward. We just need the same as we had before, our head plate. You can draw a double head plate if you want, and seeing as I've got it in the first drawing, I'll keep it. You don't have to have the double head plate. So that stays standard. Underneath that then we need our lintel. In timber frame, the panel is all timber. The lintel is going to be the same height as whatever you were told was this dimension here. So we were told at the start of this one, for example, I drew it in 200mm wide, meaning my lintel is going to be 200mm high. So that measurement is the same. If you were told that that panel was going to be 250mm wide, you'd make the lintel 250mm high. All the timber is 50mm, meaning I have to make this out of 50mm pieces of timber. So it's going to be 50, 50, 50 and 50. So 4 pieces of timber are going to go into it to fill it up. And that is my timber lintel. And it can go in right under the head plate. You don't need a gap between the two. So I have my timber lintel drawn in. The opening for the window, doesn't matter where we put it, we'll drop it in down here. It doesn't really take any weight, so it's just a single 50mm piece of timber. All the timber is the same size in any of the panels. So at the start of this drawing, I specified that all the timber was going to be 250 by 50. So don't move away from those measurements. Window opening is in. And again, all the bits of the panel are the same. Plywood, 18mm thick. So the basic parts of the panel are the same. There's our plywood. Sorry, I forgot the sole plate. And our breather membrane. Blue for the breather membrane on the outside. So basically we just took the same panel from here and just chopped the window out of it. Again, the airtight membrane, the service cavity and the plasterboard is the exact same. So the same thing, for example, a 60mm service cavity in 6mm. And I'll have a batten right at the bottom and right at the window opening. So 6 again, I said it'd be 6 by 6. So that is the first part of the service cavity drawing. The top for the second part, and again 6 and 6. And that is our service cavity created for on the inside. 12mm plasterboard then as always. So we'll have our plasterboard coming up. And it'll turn in later on when we draw the actual window itself. For a block outer leaf then, same as before, it's very straightforward. 60mm surface cavity, and the block wall itself is 100mm. So lightly draw those in. Our windowsill has to be dropped in. So our sill needs to finish with the top of the window section, or the timber frame section for the window. So when we come along, we just, the only dimension you need is it's 100mm high, so 10mm high. So slight overhang out over the blockwork, drip groove so that no water passes back in underneath it. We'll have a slight angle. Made with concrete, so show your labels for it. And there we have our sill put in. Blockwork down from there. As with the ordinary wall detail, you need your DPC. The DPC is wrapped up the back of the sill. So this detail I'm drawing is exactly the same for a block wall. So you're pretty much just copying the outer leaf of a block wall for this drawing. Same up top then, we need a concrete lintel. Lintel always 75mm, 7.5 on the door. And our blockwork will continue up from there. Steel in the lintel, and as always we need a cavity closer. Cavity closer, no dimensions for it. Drawn in, and it's always filled with insulation. Cavity closer underneath the sill as well. And again filled with insulation. We need our wall ties, so you'll draw in a couple of wall ties as we did before. And again turned up onto the timber frame. It's built into the blockwork and screwed onto the timber frame. So one up top, same. And again, in keeping with our standard block outer leaf, we have a step DPC. The window, they'll normally specify a size for it. If they say it's a timber frame window, triple glazed, maybe with 150 by 75mm frame, what that means is from the inner part of the lintel, it'll be 150mm wide, 75 high. So you start off with a little box that size. we always start at the top and we work down to the bottom of the window. So that's the start off of the frame. I need to cut the sash out of it. Sash is usually about 60 millimeters. So in other words, we just measure in 6. It doesn't matter what height you come up there to cut it out. And there's no dimensions for the size of the sash, so the frame of the window. So I'm drawing in the frame of the window. And I'll draw in the triple glazing coming down. Windows drawn in. If they say it's insulated, you draw some yellow in to show it's an insulated frame. And that'll be standard. To finish out the frame of the window, you just darken it in. Airtight seal needed to stop any air loss, and again it'll be an insulated frame, so you draw some insulation in on the frame. And we've got an insulated frame. Take that down to the bottom. And we need a slight overhang over the actual windowsill itself. Again, the frame at the bottom is 150 by 75, so up 7.5. And we draw on the basic outline. It needs to overhang slightly down here. So slight overhang. Just build it out. And our frame needs to drop down into that. So the frame comes down from above, and I chop the frame for the opening. So the piece taken out of the frame. I'll darken those two frames in so you can see them. So you're starting off with just a basic box, 150 by 75. That's the bottom portion of the frame, and again the same thing, it needs to have insulation in it. There's our insulated frame. I'll darken the one on top as well so you can see it clearly. And again, we need the same window frame down the bottom. And our triple glazing continues down. Insulated frame. And that is the timber frame detail done. for blocks. It's just a matter of labeling up everything then afterwards.